beautiful thing.
And welcome back to the Cindy Graves Show. How is Obamacare resonating, not only here in Florida, but across the country? Is it the number one issue that's going to keep not only U.S. senators on the Democrat side from being reelected, but maybe give sweeping victories to the GOP inside state houses and also lieutenant governors, governors, and all the rest? Here to talk about it is Matt Walter. He is the president of the Republican State Leadership Committee. What an interesting organization you have. And welcome, Matt. Thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Cindy. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, it's wonderful to have you. You are the only organization, I think you're the best kept secret in the GOP, the only organization that is national in scale that helps people get elected down the ballot. Explain to us what that means.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of folks focus on what's going on in Washington, D.C., but the real action these days are out in the state capitals. If you're looking for something to be done, it's more likely happening out in the state capital. And the few things, unfortunately, that are happening by this Obama-led federal government are the wrong things, the bad things. And so, to some extent, we toil in the background a little bit, dealing with the state-level down-ballot races, but that's right where we want to be, because our leaders out there in Florida and in other states are the ones that can do things and can stand up to the overreach of the federal government, and they can stand by their record. And you can see in a short period of time what the results of that action truly is.
Well, you really can. And when you look at the maps that are provided on your particular website, it's absolutely amazing. You never saw so much red. I sure have not in recent years, but that seems to be, you're just creeping on it, just state by state. You know, big, of course, blue states like California. I don't know what is your outlook. Even they seem to be tired of it. And we've seen such smart reaction in Colorado recently on the national scale. Is there any way to take back those House seats?
We are going to have opportunities in a number of states this time out, and for folks out there that are listening and have your computer up, go to RSLC.com. You can see some of those maps and some of that beautiful red out there, RSLC.com. And you're certainly going to have some of your big blue states that are always going to be tough to crack into, and California is certainly one of them. We've had some good opportunities and some good pickups and some special elections in California, but in a lot of respects, when you look at the New Yorks and Illinois and Californias of the world, you're talking about the goose that laid the golden egg, and they have just killed it at the state level. The Democrats have done what the Obama-led federal government is doing now, which is taxing too much, regulating too much, and strangling what were great economies. And those economic drivers are moving to states like Florida, states like Tennessee and Georgia and Texas, where they welcome business, where they welcome freedom and want people to live and encourage people to live there. And those middle states that you see that are maybe split right now or have gone back and forth, your typical battleground states, they're taking notice of this.
Well, you even have New York listed as a split state. I mean, that's pretty exciting news, and something, you know, that some people wouldn't have thought they'd see in their lifetime recently.
Yeah. The New York State Senate is in Republican hands, and the Washington State Senate as well. You start to see some of these states that are typically deep blue states in presidential elections that have Republican chambers. And there's no doubt that the Nevadas and Colorados and New Mexicos of the world are great opportunities to flip to red this time. And in fact, we see those happening.
Well, and what you're doing also is grooming the leaders inside the state houses and the secretaries of state, the lieutenant governors and the governors and all the rest, and moving them towards great opportunities when it's their turn to be in Congress. Is that correct?
That's correct. Whether it's someone that is a leader of a legislative chamber or moving into statewide office, or even our president. In the past, he was a state-level office holder. And so what you can do, and what the media reports have said in 2010 and 12 that our group did, was eliminate a generation of Democratic leaders right there at the state level, where it's easier to do, where you can come in and make a compelling case and deal directly with the voters. But we've also created that next generation of leaders at a statewide level and at a national level, and somewhere out there in all likelihood are not only multiple members of Congress and U.S. senators, but the next future president.
Well, and I hope the future president springs right out of your future majority caucus. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that we've seen at both a political and a policy level is that America at the state level and the federal level does not look like the country that we are today. And by that, I mean that women are massively underrepresented in government office, and individuals of diverse ethnicity are massively underrepresented. Now, you read about this too often in the wrong side of the media as this being a Republican problem. Well, truth be told, both parties are underperforming. And we think there's a natural imbalance there, and we think it's one that appeals to Republicans. We believe in opportunity. We believe in growth and individual freedom, and those messages certainly resonate. And by electing more women and more candidates of diverse ethnicity, we're not only going to have better politics, but we're appealing to a broader group of the American public and getting the best talent in there possible. So we're going to have better policy at the end of the day, too.
Well, it's very exciting. I got to hear my friend Jill Bader speak about this at a conference in Washington, D.C. last week. I think that she's fabulous. She's your communications director, I guess, nationwide now. You have a great team over there at your committee. For those of you who are just joining us, we're on with Matt Walter. He is the president of the Republican State Leadership Committee, and he's all about growing the Republican Party from inside the states and getting people ready to take over Congress. I think your majority, the future majority caucus, is probably one of the brightest ideas I've heard.
Yeah, well, thank you. We're committed to it, and certainly Jill's wonderful, and her leadership on our Right Women Right Now initiative and Future Majority Project has been critically important. But one other thing to make note of, as you mentioned, that these folks are going to be moving up to Congress. Well, the races and the seats they're going to be running in Congress, those are drawn by the state legislatures every 10 years. And so we launched the Red Map Project in advance of the 2010 elections to make sure that we had people who were drawing lines that we could be competitive in and were fair, rather than the Democrats holding the pen and drawing them out of that. And so as a result, in our own small little way at the state level, we were able to help all the good work that congressional folks and the national committees are doing to help those congressional candidates be prepared, not only grooming the candidates, but making sure that redistricting works out in a way where we can be extremely competitive. That's part of the reason that the House is probably not in play at all this cycle.
Well, I think it's very exciting. And when you talk about competitive, the other thing in dealing with races inside of states, they also can be, financially competitive, and that is something else that you help with.
That's exactly right. We were fortunate enough, thanks to generous donors and supporters out there, to be able to spend $39 million last cycle out. And that doesn't go real far at the presidential level. But when you put that into state-level races, you can really communicate critical messages directly to the voters and have an impact and really see the needle move.
Well, $39 million is a nice little chunk of change for a committee that's not well known and not necessarily a household name. Good for you. What kind of people donate to this committee?
Well, we have over 100,000 donors from all 50 states. And they run the gamut from folks who have done well financially in this country and believe that grassroots support and government closest to the people is the most important, and so they make investments to it, to folks that cut $5 checks and $10 checks. And, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say to everybody, you can find that opportunity as well on RSLC.com to make a contribution to help us elect more Republicans across the country.
Well, something else that you find on your site, which I thought was fascinating, was a volunteer button. You can actually put people to work right through the computer in helping in a race of their choice. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. We have that opportunity, and we encourage everyone to get actively involved. Politics has never been more interesting or accessible to people. There is a key race going on in your area or close to your area right now. So if you are engaged, if you believe in what's going on, get out there, get involved. You'll have fun, and you'll feel like you've had an impact on your community and your government, and that's a tremendously rewarding feeling to have.
Well, somebody else that's a big hero here in the state of Florida is Bill McCollum. Tell us what he has to do with this committee.
Absolutely. So Bill McCollum is the chairman of the organization. He was the vice chairman of the organization last cycle out, and Ed Gillespie, who everybody knows, you've probably seen him on the Sunday talk shows, and was a senior advisor to President Bush. He's now running for U.S. Senate in Virginia.
He must be one of your success stories, huh? Ed Gillespie, my goodness.
Absolutely. Well, we're an incubator of candidates and ideas as well, heading up to the national level. But when Ed went up to help out with the Romney campaign last year, Bill McCollum stepped up from his vice chair spot to be chairman during the heat of the campaign season. Ed returned, obviously, prior to his decision to run for Senate, and as he decided to run for Senate, Bill McCollum stepped up again. We are incredibly fortunate to have him as chairman. Certainly, you know that in the state of Florida. Committed man, patriotic, dedicated, believes in the cause, tireless effort. He's been a joy to work with and a tremendous leader for us.
Well, he and his wife both, I think, are great patriots and certainly well respected throughout the state of Florida. And I'm glad that y'all are getting to know him on the national level, and I hope everybody does, because not enough good things can be said about him. I think this was fascinating to talk to you. We always like to uncover opportunities for Republicans. We hope that you'll use this as a source and bring some of your long shots on our show, and let's talk about victory.
Love to, Cindy. We'll make a point of that. We'll get on there, and can't wait to speak with you again.
Thank you. That was Matt Walter. He is the president of the Republican Senate Leadership Committee, spending $39 million of hard-earned donations to get Republicans elected just this last election cycle.